I will be talking about refrigeration cycles shown on this diagram here. Two items separate low and high pressure. One is the compressor, shown on top, and then the other is the metering device, shown at the bottom next to the filter dryer. So the red is a high pressure and the blue is a low pressure. I'll be mentioning high pressure and high temperature in correlation a lot, because as the pressure gets higher, the temperature gets higher. As the lower pressure, lower the temperature, and so on and so forth. And I can show you in this graph here. Just use R134A as an example because it's pretty common. It's like 50 degrees Fahrenheit equals 44.9 psi. 150 Fahrenheit equals 280.7 psi. That's the wrong one. 264.4 psi. So my example, I'll be using a 1983 Monte Carlo. The system is going to be the same idea as the diagram, but slightly different. So how it's going to work. Picture of the system. And after the high pressure, high temperature refrigerant leaves the compressor, it enters the condenser. The condenser brings the refrigerant to its dew point. It turns it back into a high pressure, high temperature liquid. In a car, the fan sucks the air in and blows it over the condenser, cooling the refrigerant. Around the middle of the coil, it hits a saturated state, which is where vapor and liquid both exist at the same time, but then it turns into a liquid. The high temperature, high pressure liquid leaves the condenser and it heads to the metering device further down. As the high temperature, high pressure liquid hits the metering device, this one is simply a extremely small hole that missed the refrigerant, it turns into a low pressure, which equals a low temperature. Now it's still a liquid, just at a different pressure till it hits the middle of the evaporator coil, where another fan is blowing air over it. In a car, this is taken from inside near your feet, and as it blows the hotter air over it, it turns it into a low pressure, low temperature vapor. The air that is used to warm up the refrigerant is blown out of the vents on your dash. My dash is cracked, but it's your vents and your registers here. The diagram I showed you doesn't have this accumulator like this system does, which is the tall silver thing there. This makes sure that if the refrigerant doesn't go into a completely vapor form, if some of it's still liquid, it catches it there on the accumulator. Way it doesn't, the liquid doesn't reach the compressor, and the compressor is not designed to do that. It would eventually ruin the compressor. Actually, probably quickly. And the low pressure, low temperature vapor enters the compressor, which has a piston, raises the pressure, and which equals a raise in temperature, and it goes back to the beginning of the cycle. The condenser, as it forces it, raising the pressure, the molecules will, they have less space to go, they bounce more frequently, raising the temperature with that raised pressure, and then that goes, like I said, goes back into the system as that high pressure, high temperature vapor.